So this is day 26 of my Thrive 8-week challenge. I should report, I wouldn't necessarily say a major amount of better focus, because I believe I'm focused anyway. How do you say that you're focused and not focused at the same time? How can I claim to be focused when I know that I'm not making the kind of living I would like to make? I said to all the guys involved with Thrive that I was going to give it a really blunt and candid report all the way through. How I'm measuring it and judging it is I am doing exercises every day. I began with a goal, and the goal was to create for myself a six-pack and to be able to do the splits 100% sideways by the end of the 8 weeks. It's now almost the end of the first month, and there's no way on earth that I can do the splits yet, and I do not have a six-pack yet, but I can feel that my belly is tighter and tauter. Yes, I feel like I'm losing weight. Officially, yes, I am losing weight. I have lost 3 kilograms in 3 months. Let's talk about some of the specific claims of Thrive. Better focus. It has helped me to take a headspace from time to time. I've seen videos where people have claimed to have much more patience with their partners and kids and life and what have you. Yes and no. I haven't necessarily noticed more patience. There are times in my life where I'm very patient and times in my life where I'm not. Times in my life where I'm very short on patience and quite bad-tempered. More emotional balance, I wouldn't necessarily say so. So let's say something here fairly realistic. The weight that I'm losing and the fact that I'm getting a little more supple, those progressions could all be down to the physical exercise that I'm doing every day, and some yoga positions and some metabolism quickening breathwork yoga. It might not be because of the Thrive. It might not be. There's a realistic thing to say. I've had a few people say half sarcastically that it's all in the mind. Now, I agree 100%. It is all in the mind. Every single thing that a person ever says, thinks and does is purely and only ever all in the mind. Without the mind, a person can't do anything. For a person to do anything, it has to be in the mind and of the mind and through the mind and from the mind. It has to be. It cannot not be. Now, I also said, in response to people saying this, it's all in the mind, mumbo jumbo, that if I'm getting an effect from this Thrive and it's purely down to a placebo effect, then bring on the placebo. What's in a name? I'm glad and happy for it to be in the mind and of the mind and through the mind and from the mind. I hope that it is in the mind and of the mind and through the mind and from the mind and because of the mind. Because I do have another parallel intention, and the intention is to demonstrate that nothing is down to substance, that everything is in, of, through, because of the mind anyway. I'm right into NLP, hypnotherapy, HUNA, etc. You all know this anyway by now. And part of my thing, beep, 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 is about the power of the mind, the power of mind, the power of mind over matter, mind over body, mind in health and healing. So if you say it's all in the mind, I'm grinning and smiling. I'm laughing all the way to the bank. And if you say, oh no, it's because of nutritional deficiencies that Thrive is making up for you, I'm still grinning and laughing all the way to the bank. Because actually I'm happy with either answer. I'm happy with either fact, if those are facts. But let's look at this another way. If we have serious nutritional deficiencies for whatever reason, because of our modern Western diet, or whatever other reason, because the soils are depleted of the nutrients needed, and if you do extra physical exercise and extra mental exercise, then you're only building up further problems for yourself, no matter how you put it, there is still an argument for thrive. There is still an argument that says that we are subject to serious nutritional deficiencies, and that giving ourselves those nutrients in shakes or patches or tabs is going to fill in at least some of the holes that they are intending to fill in. Shall I say that again? If I have serious deficiencies in my nutrition and I start doing extra exercise, then I'm going to get ill even quicker. Yeah? So which camp do you belong to? Do you belong to this "it's all in the mind" camp? In which case, you don't have a nicotine addiction. It's all in the mind. You don't have a chocolate addiction. It's all in the mind. You're not fat because of the genetics you've got. It's all in the mind, etc. Need I go on? If it's all in the mind, it's all in the mind. Or do you belong to the physics school of thought, which is there are serious nutritional deficiencies in any country's generalized diet? Me, I have this tattoo, look. Check it out. It's called a caduceus. Some of you know that. It stands for somebody who can at least understand both sides of the fence. I understand both sides of the fence. I fully agree with both sides of the fence, and I fully disagree with both sides of the fence at the same time and at different times. Sounds strange, doesn't it? With a little thought, you'd understand what I'm talking about. So if we're being realistic, other things need to be brought into mind here. For instance, the reason why I got involved with Thrive in the first place. Well, the reason I got involved with Thrive in the first place was because of the whole gestalt of the thing. Partly, it was all over Facebook and the internet. It was obviously massive. When I asked my mentors about how massive it was, they said to me that in 2015 it was one of, if not the fastest growing direct selling company in the world. Part of that gestalt was also the name Thrive. They called it an online movement of people who are thriving and helping one another to thrive, physically, mentally, emotionally and business-wise. That's partly what the internet is actually about. And on this note, I find people to be divided against themselves and one another by powers that be. I mean, as part of my marketing, I was encouraged to send out messages to all of my Facebook contacts with my links to my website. All of the responses so far have been negative. The World Wide Web is maintained by every person that's on the web to open communications to a vaster audience. And yet most people responding to various businesses call it a get-rich-quick scam and a pyramid business. What they conveniently forget is the fact that everything that has any power within it, or everything that has any structure within it, is pyramid by nature. The life they live under the government or under the Queen is pyramid by nature. The businesses that they're involved in, no matter what the business is, whether it's online or out here, it's pyramid by nature. Money itself is pyramid by nature. Power itself is pyramid. And then everybody and their left lampshade's uncle is a Freemason, having some tenuous mystical magical link to the Egyptians. One of my contacts even said, "Stop spamming, it makes you look unprofessional." I reckon that this word spam was invented by people trying to control other people's methods of communicating with the larger world via the internet. It's been somehow cleverly dropped into society. When I really look with a critical eye on how certain town and city areas have been disbanded, with the government using the word ghetto to describe certain inner city and town areas, in a way I kind of realise that it isn't the only way that powers that be exercise power. For instance, in my opinion, ghetto is really nothing more than a negative phrase for an area of a town or city in which people have kind of come together. Spam, ghetto, gang, hood, in my opinion, all phrases utilised to control areas of population. Almost every person that has a business or does any kind of business has to stoop to shameless and spammy self-promotion. Even those businesses who are proud not to think in monetary terms, those characters who are oh so proud not to have a Facebook account and oh so proud not to have to chase online business, etc., etc. People who want to be liked for their personality alone are often resulting to shameless and spammy self-promotion tactics in order to be liked, creeping to people to try to impress them, showing off, sarging and peacocking, using their oh so not hypnotic and not monotonous persuasive techniques that they deny ever having picked up along the way. So how can I possibly be promoting the Thrive that I'm involved with if I'm not saying anything hyper positive about it? Well, I'm hoping that being as honest and straight as I'm being, that will be my selling point for any business that I'm involved with or ever get involved with. The fact that I will seek to give a straight and candid view. Is it worth it? Is it worth me having joined Thrive? Well, at what works out to be about £125 a month, it is pricey. What's that? Reassuringly expensive. There are other businesses I've got involved with over the years that haven't made me back any money, and yet I still do not regret getting involved with them. I still think that they are a good idea, because the truth that I reckon about online business especially is that there comes a point when you have built up a certain amount of online presence, when you are familiar in people's lives, where they do start to listen to you. Now, I think that what that takes is an online presence and talking to people, and for you to be familiar in their lives, for them to be familiar with you. Once they start trusting you more and having a rapport with you, I don't think it's ever about products, a product, the product. I don't think it's ever about your marketing efforts, and I don't think it's ever about your personality. I think it is purely and only down to the amount of time you spend in someone's face. And I think it's about holding a stance or an opinion about something. I think there comes a point for every online marketer where people trust them, whatever their product or service is. And I reckon that that's the secret that is so often alluded to. No matter what you put out there, there are going to be some that like it and some that don't like it. And you're going to hear most from the people who don't like it. Empty vessels make the loudest noise. Are the Thrive people standing by me? Well, they want me to sell, obviously, and those that I have a communication with share snippets of good news and challenges with one another, but they can't really stand by me fully yet because I don't fully and openly communicate with them yet. I'm still reserving my full judgment of Thrive. I understand that at certain levels of the business, people rally together more and there's more camaraderie, which is a thing I personally hark to. Sure, I am not involved with those people. Let's talk about motivation. Has Thrive specifically given me more motivation? Yes and no, no and yes. As an NLP practitioner, master practitioner and trainer, I have a thing about motivation anyway. I choose that in my life motivation is something that I have and I am in control of. I'm able to rouse people, including myself, up. I'm able to motivate people. In fact, in some of my jobs of employment, I've been called Mr. Motivator, because that is an energy I bring to work and to everything that I do. Energy, motivation, innocence, laughter, joy. I have plenty of moments every day and plenty of times every week or month when I am very motivated to get things done. So if Thrive hasn't necessarily given me more focus of mind, more balance of emotion, more physical fitness and suppleness, or an online movement of people who are standing by me, why am I sticking to it? Why? What's my interest? Any person's motivation is down to them and them alone. Whether a person thrives in life or not is down to them and them alone, and the way that they view things. Viewing the world with new eyes turns the world into an adventure. You know, your cup is always half empty or half full. Well, when I first invested in my first NLP practitioner course, I did the research. I did plenty of background research into what was what and who was who in the NLP world, and what kind of teaching and what kind of attention I would get. When I invested, it was specifically for this reason, that I was giving trust. I was giving the trust to say that I was trusting somebody else and their process and their training and their intentions and their expertise and their knowledge, in the knowledge that, and in the hopes that, what goes around does indeed come around. That was my very verbal and mental decision when I invested in my first ever NLP practitioner course. I was paying somebody else for their training, their expertise, their knowledge, in the hopes that what went around would come around. I'm doing the same with this Thrive. I am trusting with my hard-earned money an online movement of people supposedly who are there to help one another to thrive, in the hopes that in me giving of my trust and money, what I have put around is in the process of coming around. Have I made myself plain? Can I make it any plainer? It's not for the promise of what the substance says on the box. That's part of it, but the smallest part of it. It's not because it says it's going to help you get back to fitness. That's part of it. It's a large part of it, but it's not the biggest part of it. Another of the main parts of it, for me personally, was that with the health benefits and the fact that these are filling nutritional gaps, etc., etc., all the list of pros involved with Thrive, if you can get 2 people to sign up, you get yours for free every month. There is definitely potential and promise within this business model. If as an intelligent person you cannot see that, then you must be blind or stubborn. After all, most of you are looking for some kind of business if you're online. Sure, it is hard to get 2 people to sign up, especially when they smell pyramid, especially when they get a sense of you trying to sell something to them. They've all been brainwashed by powers that be to hate salespeople or anyone selling or promoting anything or anything pyramidal. That's the way that the elite secret government wants you, divided against anything that has the possibility or potential to gain you anything, programmed into spending your money on substances that have little nutritional value in supermarkets that play you subliminally brainwashing lift music while you're in there. Bye, 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 stay asleep, bye, bye, bye. Conform to the rules and regulations written by Big Brother and played at you through your television sets. Avoid any structure, any social structure, any financial structure that does have a trickle down and a trickle up effect. Maybe what people should be doing is actually looking at how many milligrams or micrograms of each specific nutrient, manganese and magnesium, etc., are in everything they buy, and then apportioning certain portions of their money, certain amounts of their money, to buy those certain nutrients, instead of blindly buying the potatoes and the carrots that they buy, not knowing what kind of soils they've actually been grown in and what they've been fed. I am feeling within myself a lot better than I felt in a long time because of the ways that I think about everything to do with life and the focus of my studies, etc. Mental clarity and focus of attention and emotional balance isn't something that a substance can make much difference towards, to be honest. It's the things that I think, the progress that I make, the achievements that I make, the specific achievements that I make, many of which I do actually list in my book in a written form. It's the achievements that I make that give me my emotional up. It's the progress that I make that gives me my focus, and it's my focus that enables me to make the progresses that I make. Sometimes I am what some people call very deep, very long thinking, very slow, very dense. Other times I just can't be bothered. Sometimes I love myself and sometimes I hate myself. I have a love-hate relationship with myself, sure, and I constantly work on that. I constantly fight with myself. Emotionally, yeah, and mentally and physically. In one of the samurai written codes, those who overcome others may be strong, whereas those who overcome themselves are mighty. At heart I am both samurai and ninja. So what am I going to say about it? How am I going to judge it? What am I reserving judgment for? One of the things I'm reserving my judgment upon about Thrive is the following specifically. Okay, when I started there was all this hype about it'll hit you in one day, then others said it'll hit you on about the third day and you'll get your upness and your rush and your energy and your motivation and you'll do everything including the kitchen sink, and you'll do everyone including the kitchen sink. Okay. Then further on down the line, a few people said to me, reserve judgment for a month. Then people are saying, you need to really reserve judgment for the full 8 weeks. Okay? I'm at about a month, just under. I'm reserving judgment if I'm not totally free of this hip pain and able to move with speed and grace without my hips and legs hurting. Okay, stop. Lovely weather, gorgeous sunshine. It's set to be 30 degrees and 36 degrees in London today. Hottest day of the year. What a contrast from yesterday. Okay, it's funny, isn't it, how you can get all antsy without even realizing you're being antsy. Sometimes you can get all demanding and frustrated and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and the next thing without even realizing you're doing that. I said that if this Thrive thing doesn't get rid of my hip pain by the 8-week period, by the end of the 8-week period, I was going to cut Thrive completely and report that it hadn't worked for me in that respect. Now, sure, you could say I've got a point. Sure, you could say that any wise person or savvy business person would do such a thing, cut out a thing that isn't working for them and report that it isn't working, sure. On the other hand, any savvy business person would also take account of the fact that for thousands and thousands of people out there, it is working. Otherwise, people wouldn't be saying that it's working, would they? For thousands of people out there, it is working. Otherwise, it wouldn't be growing at the rate that it's growing. It wouldn't be as popular as it is, and people wouldn't be saying that it's working. If a thing isn't working, it soon gets the reputation for not working the way it's said to be working. People don't promote something that isn't working, okay? So, there's the other aspect of it that takes in other people's experiences of the substance and the fact that for a percentage of people it may well still work in a massive and amazing way. So I've got to take that into account before I start saying, I'm going to cut it out completely and that's the end of the story. Okay? Stop being such an egotistical you-know-what. something for me to learn there. The other thing that I forgot to say yesterday was that a definite effect that this Thrive is having in my life is that it is giving me a kind of awareness. It is helping me to develop a kind of awareness, and the awareness is this: every single meal that I'm looking at, whether the family make it or I make it, every single substance that's on the plate I'm looking at, and I'm looking at in a different way than I normally look at food. Usually if food is served to me, I can have 1 or 2 servings and maybe even a third serving. I wouldn't say I eat massive meals, not by any means, and I certainly don't eat 3 meals a day, and I certainly don't have masses of spuds, and I don't pour the chip pan fat into the potato. When I have chips, they're not fried in deep fat, they're usually oven. Fair enough, the carbohydrate of potato is a big fattener, and the carbohydrate in rice can also lay on the body as fat. Carbohydrate in any food can be converted into fat within the body. That's a fair enough point. These are all fair enough points. As a result of taking this Thrive for the past month, my appetite is a lot less than it's ever been in my life. That I will ascribe to the Thrive. So for people who are slimming, wanting to lose weight, wanting to control their appetite, I would say yes, that for me that has been the case. Okay, I look at every piece of meat that's on my plate, and subtly I feel this slight feeling of being appalled. For the past few weeks since starting this Thrive experience, almost every piece of meat I've had on my plate, whenever I've looked at it, I've felt this feeling of being appalled. It's only a subtle feeling, but it is definitely that feeling of being appalled. Most foods that I look at, most cooked vegetables as well, I struggle to have an appetite for. The things that I'm finding that I'm really enjoying lately are nuts and fruit and greens. I had some cooked Brussels sprouts the other day, and I actually loved them. Now, as a kid, I always hated Brussels sprouts. The smell was just absolutely off-putting, and I couldn't even put them in my mouth. The smell was so bad. And even most of my adult life, until the other day in fact, I couldn't stand the smell, and I certainly couldn't stand the taste of them. I've tried to take them in various different forms, and sometimes I've tried to mix them up raw into a smoothie and drink them that way, and sure, I can take them in a smoothie, but it takes me a lot to do so, and I haven't gravitated that direction. Though the other day when I had some cooked Brussels sprouts, I absolutely loved them. They were delicious to my palate. That's the first time I've ever liked Brussels sprouts, and that's the first time I've ever actually admitted to loving Brussels sprouts. Along with this effect on my general appetite, I also have various thoughts pop up when I look at the food, some of them quite gruesome. It seems almost as if my body-mind is trying to tell me in no uncertain terms what it wants to eat. Fair enough, it's a good thing for the body-mind to be telling me what it wants to eat, surely. I'm not saying that I've cut out the likes of Coke totally, because I haven't. I am drinking far less Coke than I've done ever. Maybe that's the clarity to pick up on the signals that the body is sending you. So once again, I will say that an effect that I ascribe to this Thrive is the fact that I have far less of an appetite than I have ever done in my life, and my body is naturally craving certain foods. A natural effect of this Thrive is that my body is not wanting as much food and is desiring certain types of food. I have far less of an appetite than I have ever had at any stage in my life, and my body is naturally, without researching and without forcing or pushing, wanting certain types of food. Then I am cutting Thrive completely, and I will say that Thrive has not worked in that specific regard for me. Okay? There is my answer. Okay? Now, I have been candid and I have been sharp. For £125 a month, surely you cannot expect any less. We are halfway through the Thrive 8-week experience. Thank you for listening.